when we practice Buddhist meditation, we're cultivating the qualities of mindfulness and clear comprehension, sati sampajanya. And there's many ways we can bring up mindfulness. There's many meditation objects we can recollect. And we can also direct our mind to be mindful of the body, this physical form, feelings, pleasant, painful, neither pleasant nor painful feelings, the mind itself, what we call the citta, the quality of knowing, and then the different mental states arising. And we can also be mindful of Dhamma, the truth, and particularly the way or the process by which suffering arises, but also the process how suffering ceases. So we call these the four foundations of mindfulness. So if we are practicing mindfulness of breathing, that's focusing on the breath, which is a physical aspect of our experience, so that is part of the body. The air element is one element that makes up the human body. And we breathe in, we breathe out every moment. If we stop breathing, we worry that we will die. As you focus on the breath, you quickly might come to realize that the breath is not self. You don't really control it, even though you can practice breath control and hold your breath or make it a certain way. The breathing process is just going on all the time. And most of the time we're not even aware of it. It's involuntary. It's connected with life itself, the desire to live. And as long as the body is healthy, then it will be breathing. But as we focus on the breath, make that central to what we know during the meditation. We keep putting attention on the in-breath, the out-breath. It's only natural that different thoughts, images, memories will come up into your mind. And we all know that experience of different thoughts coming up into the mind and taking our attention away from the breath. We get caught up into the issue, the story, the reaction to things. We get images as well. Some people have lots of visual images when they close their eyes, try to watch the breath, and just keep seeing things. Some people it's just words, like an inner dialogue, inner conversation. Sometimes it's the sensations around the body, particularly painful ones, that take our attention away from the breath. But the inner conversation, the words, are probably one of the main distractions during meditation. The word for this the Buddha used is sankhara, which means formations, sometimes translated as conditions, but mental formations. So something prompts you, a memory, a visual image, a sensation, and then we start thinking, creating. As it continues on, it becomes what we call mental proliferation. Endless thinking about this and that. One of the words for that is papancha. Just endless thinking fed by different desires, what we identify with, and the sense of self. Think and think and think. And the Buddha gave many reflections and ways to deal with this endless thinking. What we often do is try and suppress it, force the mind to pay attention to the breath. And that usually gives up a reaction of discomfort. Maybe mental discomfort or even physical discomfort as we try to use willpower and stop the mind from thinking. We make the thoughts into an enemy and want to get rid of them, which only adds to the feeling of discomfort, tension in the mind. And we often become irritated or disappointed with ourselves because with, as we say, thinking too much. That was the method of suppression. So you're like gritting your teeth and trying to force the thoughts out of your mind. The Buddha gave us the last resort kind of method, because it's so drastic and it will tend to make us feel unhappy or can produce as much trouble as it solves. He gave other methods, other techniques. The obvious one is just putting effort into being mindful of the breath. So paying attention to your meditation object. But that's often not working, certainly in the beginning of meditation. The mind hasn't settled down. So another way is to replace the thoughts that are endlessly proliferating, carrying on in your mind, with something better or different, sometimes the opposite. As a way of bringing up mindfulness, but also calming the mind down. So for example, if you're having a lot of negative thoughts coming up, you're having like a conversation where you're complaining or remembering things that you don't like, don't want, then you cultivate thoughts directed to the more positive side of whatever it is that you're complaining or angry about. A person, situation, ideas. Bring up something that's more positive to slow down the negativity, or even change it, to redirect it. So he said, if you're thinking about someone you don't like, or what they've said and done, then try to bring up a positive reflection directed to that person in your mind. See the good in them, remember something good they've said or done, or at least just see something you have in common with them, right? The fact that they're a human being. Another method that the Buddha gave was slowing down the pace of this endless mental proliferation, the endless thinking. So he said, just as a person running decides to walk, so their pace slows down from running to walking, and then they decide to stand still, and then they decide to sit down. So step by step they're slowing down the momentum of their body that was running till they're just sitting down very still. In the same way, you slow down the thinking process. So you're not trying to get rid of it or destroy it. You're not getting angry because you're having a lot of thoughts. But you deliberately think those thoughts a little bit slower. So you allow your mind to carry on with its conversation, thinking about whatever it is thinking about. But now you literally might press the slow motion button and think the very same thoughts, if they're verbal, just one thought at a time. So you become much more aware of what you're thinking, and that sometimes is enough for you to let them go. Maybe you see the unskillful nature of the thought, or you become aware of how meaningless it is, perhaps, or you just get bored of those thoughts once you're thinking them deliberately, slowly, until the mind just stops thinking about that particular issue. And then you return to the breath. So as we meditate, we have to use a few different methods, perhaps, during the meditation to deal with the mind that just thinking. can experiment and see what works for you. And obviously in different situations you may have to apply a different method. But for now we'll carry on practicing together till you hear the sound of the bell.